Will the Special Committee on Real Property Tax Reform meeting of January 20th, 2026 please come to order? It is 9:03 in the morning. My name is Alice Lee. I'm the chair of this committee. This online meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Sunshine Law. As a reminder, when your name is called, if you are not in the council chamber, please state your location and identify by name who, if anyone, is in the room, vehicle, or workspace with you today. Minors do not need to be identified. The voting members are Vice Chair Kiani Rollins Fernandez, Council Member Gabe Johnson, Council Member Yukile Sugimura, and myself. Non-voting members are members Cook, Paulton, Sinensi, and Hodgins. If this committee continues, we're going to try to appoint Member Kaunoy Batangan to this committee. Representing the Department of Finance, Marcy Martin, Director. Morning. Kari Stockwell, County Real Property Tax Administrator. Good morning. Corporation Counsel, Christy Rigglesworth, Deputy Corporation Counsel. Morning. Our committee staff, Jean Pokipala, Peter Hanano, Legislative Attorney, Kirsten Zabo, Legislative Analyst, James Kruger, Senior Legislative Analyst, Maria Leon, Committee Secretary. Good morning to all. Please see the last page of the agenda for information on meeting connectivity. Thank you, members, for attending today's meeting. We have one item on the agenda this morning, and it is Raptor 7, Bill 142, 2025, on the home exemption and long-term rental exemption from real property tax. Let's begin with public testimony.
Chair, we currently don't have any individuals signed up to testify at the beginning of the meeting. Would you like me to? Oh, there is an individual raising their hand right now. Should I proceed with calling them, Chair?
Yes.
That would be Tom Crowley, to be followed by Michael Williams.
Okay, I need to give instructions first. Yeah, well, this is the job. Testifiers wanting to provide testimony should sign up with the staff, join the online meeting via the Teams link, or call in to the telephone number noted on today's agenda. Written testimony is encouraged and can be submitted via the e-comment link at mauicounty.us/agendas as well. Under the Sunshine Law, the chair will receive oral testimony for agenda items at the beginning of the meeting and as the item is called up. For individuals wishing to testify via Teams, please raise your hand by clicking on the Raise Your Hand button. If calling in, please follow the prompts via phone, *5 to raise and lower your hand, and *6 to mute and unmute. Staff will add names to the testifier list in the order testifiers sign up or raise their hands. For those on Teams, staff will lower your hand once your name is added. Staff will then call the name you're logged in under or the last 4 digits of your phone number when it is your turn to testify. At that time, staff will also enable your microphone and video. Please ensure your names appear in Microsoft Teams as the names you prefer to be referred to as or as anonymous if you wish to testify anonymously. If you're in person, please notify staff that you would like to testify anonymously. Otherwise, please state your name for the record at the beginning of your testimony. Oral testimony is limited to 3 minutes. If you are still testifying beyond that time, I will kindly ask you to complete your testimony. Once you are done testifying, or if you do not wish to testify, you can also view the meeting on Akaku Channel 53, Facebook Live, or mauicounty.us/agendas. We will do our best to take each person up in an orderly fashion. We'll now call on testifiers wishing to testify at the beginning of the meeting, which means this will be your only time to testify because we only have one item. Staff, please call the first testifier.
Chair, the first person signed up to testify is Tom Crowley, to be followed by Michael Williams.
Hello, Chair. Tom Crowley. You've heard from me many times in this meeting and in others. I'm very grateful for this committee, and I hope that it does continue, because I do believe that there are several issues that we still need to work out in real property tax, and I really appreciate the opportunity for the council to do this outside of budget session. So thank you for creating this committee, and again, I hope that it continues. Today, you're going to work on Bill 142, and it looks like there's really only one proposal brought forward. And I can't say that I'm in full support of it as the solution to this problem. And I think everyone understands the problem. And the problem is that the tax classification that we apply to a property can change the property tax bill by as much as 10x. It can be 10 times higher in one particular classification versus owner-occupied classification. And that being off that much, it can last for, in the current situation, up to 18 months. It can be wrong for up to 18 months. What's being proposed could bring that down to as little as 6 months in some cases, and maybe that's the best we can do. But it also could be gone off for as much as 1 full year. And I see this as more of an accounting issue than I do anything else. We really need the help of the Real Property Tax Department to say, hey, we can change this more efficiently. But right now they can't because of the way the accounting works. They have to have the numbers in by a certain date and so forth. And I understand the problems from their perspective. But I don't think that what is proposed today really solves the problem. And it does seem that we have put aside the issue of changing the real property tax classification for properties that are going to go into the long-term rental classification. If I understand what's being proposed, and Councilmember Paulton will explain it better, I think that we're taking that away. And again, if we want to use the lower property tax rate that is being provided to people providing long-term rentals, delaying that implementation of it by up to 18 months really makes that a more difficult thing for people to accept. So I know we can solve this problem, but we're not going to be able to do it with just the council taking action here. It's going to take work on the Real Property Tax Department saying we can do it some other way. That's the end of my time. I'm sure, I hope that we will talk about more issues in the future. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tom. I see a hand, Member Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify on that point that you made, Mr. Crowley, about it being an accounting issue, I totally hear where you're coming from on that. What's your suggestion, or how do you feel about the idea that I proposed? We had a supplementary fund where they would, the administration could manage it so that they could cover the costs for that unit to go from like a short-term rental into a long-term rental, so that they could use that supplementary fund to pay that bill and make it a wash for that new buyer.
That might help specifically with making it fair, okay? Giving the person money back, essentially like a refund. What I am concerned about, though, is when underwriters look at granting a loan, one of the things the underwriters look at the time that they're granting the loan is what are the taxes going to be? And they may say to a potential borrower, hey, you have an obligation here of $1,500 a month in taxes, and we're going to take that away from the amount that we're going to be able to lend you. So that's the only problem that I see with that.
I think what we would do is, we wouldn't give the money back. It's just that owner would pay the owner-occupied rate, and the government would subsidize the rest with that fund. But okay, I hear where you're coming from, but that's kind of the suggestion. Thanks for allowing me that clarifying question, Chair.
Any more questions, members? or non-members? Okay, thank you very much. Next testifier.
Chair, the next person signed up to testify is Michael Williams, to be followed by James Langford.
Good morning, Chair,
Morning.
council members. My name is Michael Williams, and for today's purposes, I'm the president of My Tomorrow Foundation, and I sent all of you the first working version of the revenue tax estimator that we've been able to create with the help of the department. I know we can tweak it better, and we'd be happy to have a webinar with you people if any of you want to try it out with us. But I think it's going to be incredibly useful for building not only the mayor's budget, but your budget and your post changes, because you can change the tier thresholds or the rates in any of the property classes and immediately see what the effect on revenue would be in that particular class and tier. So the only other thing I have to say this morning is Kirsten asked me to be sure to tell you that I think the long-term rental exemption category needs much more work, because there are thousands of genuine long-term rentals in the county that are classified as non-owner occupied, because they don't have a one-year written lease, because they have tenant turnover, maybe because the owner is trying to dodge taxes. Could be lots of reasons, but we need to make the definition easier to make so that all of the genuine long-term rentals, as many of them as possible, get classified as long-term rentals and get the lower rate and the lower in the extra exemption. And then in the non-owner occupied class, you would have literally nothing but second homes. Right now, there are literally thousands of genuine long-term rentals that are in the non-owner occupied class, and it's something that needs to be fixed. I've talked to Marcy Martin and Carrie Lake about it several times, and the administrative headaches are real. The department, needs to be consulted if we try to fix this, but it's a problem that I think should be addressed, hopefully before the end of this year, so that you can have it effective for next year. And that's it.
Thank you, Mike. Questions, members? Okay, thank you very much. Next testifier.
Chair, the last person signed up to testify is James Langford.
Aloha.
Hello.
Hi, Chair.
Hi.
Happy New Year again. Hello, council folks. So testifying on Bill 142, and I wanted to offer, much like Michael in building that spreadsheet, I would obviously love to offer my software to help supplement solutions for you folks, and I did run Councilperson Johnson's solution through my software, and that mitigates pretty much all of the drama that would come with any pushback you might have for needing to implement this Bill 142. Also, the last time I was in the chambers, we were talking about this, and the pushback was that the accounting software doesn't do that. So because it's all publicly available information, I went and wrote and posted how to do all sides of all the options at that time. So if you folks need me to rewrite that aspect of the accounting software to implement whatever pushback you're getting, much like the spreadsheet that Mr. Michael, the last testifier wrote. Thank you, sir. Sorry, that's your last name. I could write it in about 10 minutes. So, yeah, I mean, and my rate is very fair. So, been free for you. So happy to maintain that aloha and to help generate I'm really expert at generating tax revenue. That sales order software I make for the timeshare industry is the standard and has been generating hundreds of millions to how about you? Actually more than that, but since 1998. So I do have the capacity and wherewithal and mental health to deliver any support you folks need in getting the generational wealth building that this Bill 142 can allow for our community. And that's my testimony. I'm happy to be available if you folks need me. Solutions done.
Thank you. Members, any questions? If not, thank you very much. Staff?
Chair, there are no other individuals signed up to testify on this item. If there's anyone else who'd like to testify on RPTR 7, please identify yourself now. On Teams, you can do that by raising your hand. We'll do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Chair, there is no one else to testify.
Members, any objections to closing public testimony and accepting written testimony for this item, this one item? Okay, so ordered. Okay, members, on our agenda is Bill 142, 2025, which adjusts filing deadlines for the home exemption and the long-term rental exemption. So applications filed on or before December 31st or June 30th apply to the next tax payment, and it expands home exemption eligibility to include long-term county residents who purchased property previously used for transient accommodations. The proposed CD1 from Councilmember Paulton narrows and modifies the scope by removing the next tax payment option for the long-term rental exemption, adjusting the home exemption deed filing requirement, revising the expanded home exemption qualifications by reducing the residency requirement from 10 to 5 years, and removing the prior transit accommodations use requirement, and making technical and non-substantive updates to conform to other enacted legislation. Director Martin, do you have any opening comments?
Thank you, Chair. We have reviewed the Bill number 142, CD1, and we do have some comments on the bill when the time comes.
Well, now's the time.
Okay, well, originally we had provided language for the half-year exemption.
Oh, excuse me, do you mean you want to make comments on the ASF? You want to wait for that? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Member Rollins Fernandez. Now would be a good time to, well, let me just ask. Member Paulton, we need, I was going to ask Vice Chair Kiani Rollins Fernandez to make your ASF motion, but we need a main motion first. Is that what you were planning to do, or have you changed your mind?
Aloha kakayaka kaku. I'm streaming live and direct from my kitchen table. There is an adult male in the house. His name is George Vieira. He tore his rotator cuff, and there is one minor canine. I was for the ASF, basically from the last time we met, I think I forget the date, but the finance department had a list of things that they wanted to change in my bill. So basically, I asked Mr. Hanano if we could draft an ASF to address the things that the finance department pointed out. And he did so, although he did say that he was unable to do it exactly as what he said. And if you need clarification on that, we can ask him. I see he's over there at the lawyer table. Basically, what I had heard last time was like maybe wait on the long-term rental exemption. And I know that a lot of people are not satisfied, but as we learned at HSAC on Hawaii Island, this is the way that they do it every 6 months. And basically we also took out like if it was a short-term rental, because as we're seeing some of the CDBG-DR recipients get their shopping letters for the first-time home buyers program, they don't have to buy a short-term rental. They can if they want to. So we wanted to remove that exclusivity and basically try to address the things that the finance department pointed out the last time that this committee met. The things that were unable to be addressed, we can ask Mr. Hanano to give a presentation as to why. But just, trying to do the work that was suggested by the department the last time we met in committee, and that's what the drafted ASF is. If you'd like to hear from Mr. Hanano or Ms. Martin or Ms. Stockwell on it, we heard from Ms. Stockwell the last time that she planned and saved for the first year of higher taxes when they bought a home that wasn't previously owner occupied. Most regular people in Maui County aren't aware. I'm even in conversation with one fire survivor whose family and the wife is generational Lahaina resident. They had been paying non-owner occupied tax rates on their condominium that they were living in. And so, just goes to show that everyday people with lives and families have a hard time keeping up with this stuff. I'm not sure if him and his family, when they hopefully move back, their condominium is being rebuilt right now. They hope to move back in December. I'm not sure if they'll qualify for the owner occupied because they had to move off island because they couldn't make it here while their home gets rebuilt. So I'm hoping, the home gets rebuilt in December. Somehow they can qualify for the homeowner occupied classification because they would never have left Maui if not for their home burning down and not being able to find another location. So it's not as easy as some of our testifiers that understand tax policy for everybody else. And that's my...
Okay, thank you. So I was wondering, the reason why I asked you this is because if you wanted to proceed with the ASF, I would open testimony again because this would be new information that folks can testify on. But I wasn't sure if you wanted to proceed because I knew there were questions brought up after the ASF was created by staff. So perhaps, Peter Hanano, you could enlighten us a little bit about whether we should proceed, and especially now that we know that people were paying for a higher classification through no fault of their own, that they had to move, some had to move. And so that takes away the consecutive residency requirement. So how does all of this impact people who have gone through the experience of the fire and, again, through no fault of their own, had to move, so now they don't qualify for the consecutive residency requirement? And for some who were perhaps owned or rented long-term from somebody else, again, cannot meet the qualifications. Did I hear it? Member Paulton?
Yeah, this bill wouldn't apply to them. It was just an illustration of how little people understand, like regular everyday people understand about our tax. I'll have to work on something different from them because they were owners of their condo prior to the fire. This is for people, I think, if they purchase it mid-year or they miss a filing deadline, that they could apply earlier for the owner occupied exemption so that they don't have to, if they purchase a home that was previously a short-term rental or a non-owner occupied or some other higher tax classification, that hopefully they won't have to wait quite as long to get the owner occupied tax classification as they currently do. But of all the, Mr. Hanano could explain of all the recommendations given by the finance department, the ones that he wasn't able to incorporate and why. That might be a good question for him.
Okay, that's a good question for him. And also the fact that some people left the island. Yeah, so technically they weren't residents of the island. So maybe you can address that as well. And then you, even after his explanation, you still want to proceed with your ASF?
I mean, I was ready to proceed with it without the ASF. I'm not a voting member, so ultimately I'll throw that question back to you folks. If you like it, if you want to amend it further, or if you want to trash it, I'm not a voting member.
Yeah, we know that. And that's why I asked the vice chair to make the motion on your behalf. Okay. Peter?
Thank you, Chair. I am aware of what finance proposed on the floor. I think it was a couple meetings ago, and I took that into consideration in drafting the ASF for Councilmember Paultin. And the reason I did it that way versus the way that they suggested is because I feel that there might be some conflict with one of the other Raptor bills that was passed. I think the initial round included an exemption under 348, 410D as in Delta regarding late filing and penalties. And I felt that if we included the late filing allowance in subsection A, that might possibly conflict with subsection D. And then so I did also create a number 3 subsection in 348, 450, I'm sorry. Yeah, 348, 450 sub C3, which would allow like a separate mechanism to qualify residents who, maybe not have stayed in their house for 270 days. And, I think the intent was to apply this to owners who recently purchased their home and maybe might not meet the 270-day requirement, instead of, letting them wait for 18 months to have their real property taxes adjusted. This, mechanism will allow them to have it adjusted within, hopefully not more than 6 months. But I would like to hear comments from finance on, their opinion as far as what the ASF provides currently versus what they proposed. Thank you, Chair.
So your comments are that you recommend proceeding with the Bill 142 and the ASF substitution, subject to the comments of finance. Is that your position?
Well, I mean, ultimately, it's up to the body whether.
Okay, we know that part. We know that part.
Yeah, but as far as, trying to accomplish what Councilmember Paultin is suggesting, I think this is probably the way to do it. And, I would like to confer with Corp Counsel a little bit more because they did raise some other comments on the ASF as presented today.
Okay, finance. Ms. Milner. Budget, I just moved you to budget. Martin.
Thank you, Chair. So I think we understand what Mr. Hanano is referring to, but our understanding was that the late file exemption that he's referring to is for people who qualified as of January 1. So this would be people who purchase after January 1 and prior to July 1. And so that's why we preferred the language that, that we had submitted, and that was the same language that the Big Island uses. As you can see, there's a lot of things going on, and it's the total construction of the bill, so there's a lot to think about.
Are you saying you don't agree with the ASF, that you had a different position on this? Like, for instance, the Big Islands policy.
I think, we stand by the language that we had provided originally.
Okay. So to be clear, just we want to know if you agree with the proposal or you don't agree with the proposal.
I don't think it's a matter of us agreeing or disagreeing. We're here to provide guidance to be able to administer and implement what the policy decision is. So we feel that we can implement the half-year exemption with the language that we provided, and that we also can implement the late filed exemption with the language that we had provided.
But not with the language that's being proposed.
Yes, we have concern with the language that's being proposed. So, maybe it could be explained more, but I think, even limiting the home exemption to 3.48.350C3, we weren't, sure that that was specific enough either, because that, the home exemption encompasses the whole entire section of the code.
Okay. So Peter, do you want to comment now, or shall we ask Corp Counsel to provide comments as well at this point?
Yeah, you can ask for the comments, but I think, I understand what they're saying, and I looked at their proposal. I do have some concerns about how it's written, but I think, that's something that maybe myself, Corp Counsel, and Finance has to kind of work on to come up with something that...
Okay, can you guys be a little bit more specific? Because it's hard to mentally picture your breakdown and their breakdown, and
Okay.
where the differences occur.
Right. Okay, so for example, their proposal was to put the exemption language in section 3.48410A, sub A, basically adding language in there, quote, the exemption from taxation granted in sections 3.4850 to 3.48460 must be allowed provided that the claimant has filed a claim for the home exemption on or before December 31st for the first half payment, or June 30 for the second half payment, on such form as shall be prescribed by the department. So their suggestion was to put it in subsection A, and then also adjust subsection B to require that the deed must be recorded by the deadlines, the two deadlines.
And what's wrong with that now?
The problem I see is the conflict between subsection A and D, because I guess, subsection A could apply to people who might try to file under subsection D.
Okay, I saw a hand. Vice Chair Rollins Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair. I just wanted to check with you. I know, mahalo for that explanation on the differences between the original bill that was introduced in October and the ASF that's been posted for today's meeting. Did you want to open and close public testimony? before we get into deliberation?
Well, actually, what I was trying to do earlier was get a confirmation from Member Paulton, which she did say she wants to advance the ASF. So I thought perhaps maybe given the issues that have come up with finance, that maybe she wanted to defer this item. But if not, if she wants to continue with it, which she said she does, then I will open public testimony again.
Oh, Mahalo Chair, I think we have to take public testimony either way, if we're gonna defer or if we're gonna advance the legislation.
Well, we wouldn't be taking up the ASF. Yeah, so if we defer the item. But anyway, we're going to take up public testimony again, but now we're just trying to get some clarification on the two points of view. So questions for Mr. Hanano? Anybody?
Did you
Or
want to open
finance?
and close testimony?
No clarification questions?
Oh, none.
None?
I mean, not for before testimony. I have questions for after testimony.
Okay. And then we haven't heard yet from Corp Counsel. Do you have any comments?
Thank you, Chair. Corp Counsel did sign this as to form in legality, but there does seem to be some language that needs to be sorted out based on the discussion that we just had. Also, with PAF potentially passing on the floor
Can you
this
speak
Friday.
right next? Can you speak into your mic, please?
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to get that. With PAF 26004 potentially passing on the floor, then this might need to be revised as well.
What needs to be revised?
The bill that we're taking up today.
Okay.
Yeah, I think,
Well, it's going to be substituted, right?
Chair, on that point, if you recall, a bill was submitted to correct the quote-unquote repeal by implication issue on this section for 3.48410. So what she's saying is basically we need to, if, in the future, the bill that's going to be heard on Friday before council, if that eventually passes, then we're going to have to amend this anyway to reflect the current law.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
This is not a simple situation. Okay, I'm going to proceed then. Member Sugimura, did you have a clarifying
I
question?
couldn't understand the last sentence or so that Mr. Hanano said. So if you could say it in the mic, if you could speak in the mic.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so there's a bill that's going to be on the agenda on this Friday, January 23rd council meeting. And that bill is basically to correct a situation where one of the previous Raptor bills repealed some of the language in one of these sections because the way the bill was drafted, it didn't include current sections of the code. So what Ms. Wrigglesworth is saying is that if this bill passes, it's going to have to be tweaked to account for the current law if, that bill that's going to be heard on Friday passes second reading. Yeah. So just a kind of a housekeeping measure.
Yeah, it was a bill that we all failed to recognize as deficient. And it was actually not initiated in our committee. It was initiated by the department, but we didn't catch it until just recently by Mr. Hanano. That's actually a separate matter, but it kind of affects what we're doing today. Okay, no more clarifying questions? Then staff, could you call for,
I
I'm
did
sorry?
have a clarification.
okay, Member Paulton?
Yeah, when I said moving this ASF forward, I didn't mean that you guys couldn't amend it. Like if Corp Counsel or Finance and Peter Hanano come to an agreement about where exactly the implementation should be in the code, I'm open to the ASF being amended. I'm not trying to say like you have to pass it as is, or I'm gonna pick up my toys and take them home and not let you guys pass it. So I just wanted to clarify that, like, this is the ASF that Mr. Hanano worked on based on what the finance department said to the best of his ability. If things get pointed out that, it could be put here because of what, I'm not married to this language. It can be amended.
Yeah, good. Any more clarifying questions? If not, let's call for public testimony.
Chair, proceeding with testimony on RPTR 7. If there is anyone else who'd like to testify on this item who hasn't already testified on this item, please identify yourself now. Chair, I see raised hands from James Langford and Tom Crowley. These individuals already testified on this item, so I'm just going to call them to make sure there's no other individuals with them that are wishing to testify on this item. Mr. Langford, is there someone else with you who's wishing to testify on this item?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought there was testimony opened on the ASF different than Bill 142. So that's where my confusion was on it. And I drafted language for the section B and posted it on Facebook to help. I was going to read that in the testimony so that.
And that is allowed.
Saved also time and money.
Why not?
Chair, apologies. Could staff request a brief recess, maybe 2 minutes?
Okay. 2-minute recess. 9:46 is when we return. Will the Special Committee on Real Property Tax Reform please reconvene? Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We will continue now with opening the floor for public testimony if you have not already testified on these items.
So Chair, proceeding with testimony, Tom Crowley still has his hand raised. I'm not sure if there's another individual with him who wants to testify, but Mr. Crowley has already testified on this item.
But let's see what he is asking about. Mr. Crowley.
Hello, Chair. I think that I was designated as a resource to this committee, so I had comments to make, and that's why I raised my hand. If those are inappropriate, no problem. So it's your call.
So staff, you didn't talk to me about that one. No. What I'm saying is that it'll be his second time. Okay.
Oh, but as a resource.
Resources during after testimony is closed.
Chair.
Pardon me? Wait. Let's hear what Member
I got
Paulton
the
said.
answer. I got
Oh, okay, you got the answer.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing she is, or she did. May I request Mr. Crowley continue to serve our Raptor as a resource person?
Okay.
Okay.
Any objections? So ordered. Okay, so you had comments,
Oh,
Thank you.
Member
Thank you,
Crowley?
Chair. Yes.
Mr. Crowley.
Testimony closed,
Yeah.
because resources
first you'd
talk
have to close
after the
testimony.
testimony closed.
Vice Chair Rollins Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair. I can start us off with questions as the committee vice chair. Okay.
Excuse, I think she's asking me to close testimony.
Yeah.
No objections.
Yeah, any objections to closing public testimony and accepting written testimony? Yeah, so ordered. Okay, Vice Chair Rollins Fernandez.
Okay. All right. Are you going to give us a time limit? Or that's all right?
Well,
make it long.
within reason, this is not a simple matter, so it's hard to squeeze it into 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. My first question was for the department. In their opening remarks, you folks said that the language that you offered, Member Polton, or was that the committee? Because I looked on Granicus and I couldn't find it. Or was it perhaps to Mr. Hanano?
Actually, it was, I think, a verbal recommendation on the floor. I
got
can't
it.
remember what meeting it was.
It was in October.
Probably.
In October.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll go look for that. And then my follow-up question is for our resource personnel, Mr. Crowley.
Mr. Crowley? There he is.
Okay. Did you have additional feedback that you wanted to share with the committee?
Thank you. Thank you, Member Rollins Fernandez. As you all know, I study this stuff really closely, and I try to fully understand the code. And our entire exemption code is full of so many kind of special exemptions that it really is very confusing. And as was pointed out by Corp Counsel, changes that we make in one section affect another and do the two conflict and so forth. And that's why I really want to advise the council to not take action today on this ASF and go state your goals and go back to square one with the department to try to meet those goals. Councilmember Johnson has brought forward a proposal and so forth. I just feel like we're not even close to where we need to be in solving the problem that we have set out to try to solve here. So that's just where I was, because if I don't understand it, I've actually been getting texts from people who are watching this saying, what are they saying? Am I going to lose my homeowner exemption? So it's so confusing to folks because of how this goes. That I really don't think that you're ready to make any decisions on this at this point. And that was all I wanted to bring forward to you at this point. Thank you for the opportunity.
Vice Chair Rollins Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair. That concludes my questions for now. I am in October, and I see that Bill 144 was also taken up mid-November. So I'm checking the meeting minutes for that. I just wanted to see the exact language.
Member Paulton?
I think it was the December 9th meeting, actually. I mean, the bill was introduced in October. You guys met November 13th and December 9th. My recollection was it was the last meeting that you folks had that where the language was orally presented. So I think, to me, it was December 9th. That was the last meeting of your committee, right?
Was it? Yes.
So that's where it would be, probably December 9th.
Chair, we didn't take up Bill 144. Is it 144 or 142?
142.
Oh, okay.
But we could also ask Finance Director if they have the verbiage that they presented orally or verbally, and they can repeat it for you.
Do you want Finance to repeat the language? Director? Martin? Either one, or Carrie, you?
Okay, so A would read, none of the exemptions from taxation granted in sections 3.48.466, 3.48.475 through 3.48.500, 3.48.549.
Carrie, how long is that paragraph? Maybe she can email it to everybody.
Is it just adding the new section in subsection A?
So it'd be adding an section that in subsection A that says the
After 558?
exemption from taxation granted in subsection 3.48.450 through 3.48.460 shall be allowed for the next tax payment date, provided that the claimant shall have filed a claim for the home exemption on or before December 31st for the first half payment or June 30th for the second half payment on such form as shall be prescribed by the department. And then you would have to amend 3.48.450B3. That would say that where the taxpayer has acquired a home by deed made on or after July 1st, 1951, the deed must have been recorded by the respective dates set forth in 3.48.410A.
Those are very easy amendments, Chair. It's just adding June 30 to subsection A of 410 and to 450, the home standards for valuation. That's all they're doing is after adding to December 31st or June 30.
Okay, but my understanding though, the ASF proposed by Member Paulton would lessen the time, the length of time. And in other words, that what you think is half a year is more than half a year. So let Mr. Hanano explain that.
Thank you, Chair. So both proposals, the goal is to have the taxpayers' real property taxes adjusted by the next tax payment. So it depends on when you purchase your home. Under the current law, a homeowner could wait up to 18 months to get the home exemption applied to their tax bill. And so this bill, or this proposal the intent is to reduce it to at least not more than 6 months.
Versus Finance?
Oh, no, I think they accomplish the same goals. It's just how we want to do it is the question. And the concern, like I stated before, is under subsection 348.410D, there is a provision that allows late filing for homeowners who currently, I guess, qualify for the home exemption.
Okay, because we want to be clear exactly what the differences are, yeah?
Right.
So obviously, Member Paulton's one gives a more lenient position to the taxpayer. Member Paulton, you want to explain further? What's the difference between your proposal and Finance's proposal?
My understanding is it's procedural in how the verbiage in the section implementation is. It's not different in desired or expected outcome. I think, it's a verbiage implementation difference, but, I don't know if you want to take a 20-minute break and see if Mr. Hanan, the lawyers and the financiers can get together and hash out why they think each other's one is not the right place to put the stuff. Because I don't really care about how it's implemented. That should be under finance's purview. I would like them to implement it in a way that they feel is most doable to them. Given all the current things, I'm not saying that this is the be all end all. As Mr. Crowley said, obviously we're very far from where we want to be, but in the interim, if we can take a half step in the right direction, I think, the people that are hanging on paycheck to paycheck would welcome a 6-month reprieve, rather than no reprieve at all. As members of this committee continue to work on other solutions, I'm about ready to tap out after this legislation because I got a lot of other stuff I'm working on. But I don't think there's any difference in expected or desired outcomes. I think the difference is verbiage and where to put it and things like that.
Okay, thank you. The reason why I prefer not to take a recess is that we need to hear this discussion, okay? On the one hand, the finance is proposing something that is already in effect on the Big Island. Yeah, so it's not a matter of having to create a new system. Is that right, Marcy?
Yes, but I think the confusion is that the late filed exemption that we have already passed, it's for people who qualify as of January 1. There's only one owner, and they're getting the owner-occupied class for the full year. They're getting the exemption for the full year. So that program is for those people.
Versus
This program is a half-year exemption, is for people who are applying between January 1 and June 30th, and they're going to get a half-year exemption. So I don't want to commingle the two programs. I'd like to keep them separate.
Okay, so in response, Mr. Hanano.
I mean, Chair, to be honest, I'm okay with it if Corp Counsel is okay with it, because I understand what they're saying. I understand what finance is saying.
See how simple that was? Okay, let's make it more complicated. Questions, Vice Chair Rollins Fernandez?
Okay. I can make the motions. I guess, okay. To
Okay, before you begin.
qualify.
Gabe
Before-
Johnson has
before
had
you
his
get-
hand up.
Before
Probably didn't see it.
I call on Gabe, Marcy, Martin. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure, are you talking about, you're taking the ASF into consideration or you're not taking it into consideration? Okay, you're commenting on which proposal? The original one or the one with the ASF?
I'm commenting on the ASF and the language that, we would like to see from 3.48.410.
Okay, we better have a motion, and then after that, the motion, the amendment motion proposal. So we can get into it. Vice Chair Rollins Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair. Before I make the motion, just a quick question for our OCS attorney. It's the procedural question. I have the ASF opened, not Bill 142. And Section 2 starts with B and not A. So because it's beyond the scope of, or it's not part of the bill, subsection A, and that's a section that we would need to amend in order to pass this, as the finance department is recommending to us to make everything consistent. Otherwise, it's not going to be. Would we be able to add section A to this bill?
You know, I don't think it's a problem, but what I would suggest is probably defer this and, you know, we can come up with another ASF with all the language and everything. I mean, we have, I think, at least one more meeting, Raptor meeting. That's what I would suggest.
Vice Chair Rollins Fernandez?
Mahalo, Chair. I've introduced and have passed several bills in this committee, and I've worked, outside of open meeting time to kind of nail down the exact language, the sections, because there's sometimes I miss things. I know, shocker, but I do miss things sometimes. And the department has helped to, identify sections because they work with this section of the code all the time. So they know if there's a section that's like not really on my radar that I need to make sure is part of my bill in order for the machine to work properly and not be missing screws. And so I guess I would try to encourage everyone to be able to work together offline before the next Raptor meeting.
Excuse me, Member Paulton has been working with finance all along, as far as I know, and Mr. Hanano as well.
Oh, just one last time before the meeting.
Oh, one more time.
One last time before
Okay.
before Raptor has another meeting, and then that way we can make sure we have all the pieces, because
Okay.
this one was missing the section A. That's why I brought it up. Mahalo, Chair.
Good. Sugimura, did you have any comments or questions?
I think we should work on it, as everyone's saying, and take Mr. Hanano's recommendation of deferring it, and let's just get it so we're all correct.
Okay. Member Johnson?
Oh, you're saving the best for last, huh, Chair? I'm sorry, my hand is up. You know how it is when you're online. I wish I was in the chambers, you could see my hand, but, I think I would support deferring and asking the administration to reconsider the idea of the funding for this. Have a program where you could have a funding to meet the differences. I agree with our friend Tom Crowley. He said there's a lot of cooking on this bill that needs to happen beforehand. The whole idea of 6 months, yes, it is better than what we have, but I don't think you give a thirsty man a sip, you give him the cup. And our folks are hurting, right? If 1 Bill 9 starts taking into effect, there's going to be a lot of homes that are paying really high property tax rates that could open up to a local family who's long-term, and they should be able to pay the lower property tax rates. So I know that we really want to help those folks. Our people are hurting. We could do better. I encourage, I implore, I beg the administration to please do the yes and. You want 2 separate programs? Sure, but you should also create a fund that helps those folks that are needing it, that they can't do the full payments of those high property tax rates. So please reconsider department and look and see if we can do that fund. The idea that it's like a supplemental fund that the administration could be in charge of and just covering those costs for our people. So I just want to say, please, once again, administration, consider. It sounds to me like a lot of the folks, even Corporation Counsel, is saying to defer it. It's confusing. Tom Crowley, who follows this stuff, this is his bread and butter. He was saying it's even confusing for him. So I want to just add that in there, members. I really would want the administration to look at creating a fund for this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any comments from the department?
Thank you, Chair. So I think, you know, what Gabe and Tom are talking about is really outside of real property. The purpose of real property is to provide a stable, predictable, inelastic source of revenue for local government. And all of our tax relief programs are retroactive, almost like a reimbursement, right? They're as of a date, then you're taxed later, and you've done something, and then you're compensated for that something in the next year. The entire program is based upon that. So what is being suggested of giving somebody something the day that they buy really is more like giving them money because they've promised to do something, that they really don't qualify for what they're getting, you know, up until the day they purchase. And then at that point, you know, we don't want to give somebody $10,000 and have them own it for one day and owner occupy it one day, and then the next day turn around and do another activity. You kind of want to hold them accountable so that it's fair to all the people who are already in the system, you know, for the time period that that money covers. And if you wanted to provide them something that would help them qualify, you're actually, you know, pre-qualifying somebody for something that hasn't happened yet. And I kind of liken this to some of the other affordable housing programs we have, right? Where you apply, you get a voucher, right? And then you take that voucher in to somewhere, and they say, okay, well, if this happens, if this happens, if this happens, you get it. And then they put some kind of condition on that, that you have to do this activity for so long into the future. We have programs like that, but those programs aren't in real property. They are usually some other form. Yes, we would, of course, help on trying to implement that because we see the value in that, but that, if it reduced taxes, right, it would be more of a payment or a credit. It wouldn't be an adjustment to the taxes, right? It would be like a subsidy or a grant or something. So, you know, we would be interested in helping that, but I don't feel like that would fall within the code just because of the nature of that being kind of a precursor to an event that would be coupled with a promise of the future.
Chair, can I respond?
Member Johnson?
Thank you, Chair. You know, this administration was the one who proposed Bill 9, and it was contentious, but at the end of the day, there needs to be companion bills that follow Bill 9 along. I would hope the administration would want to support companion bills and ways that we could get people in these homes if that's available for them. Just want to remind you, you're looking at the Big Island model. California does it this way too. California has that. So there's other municipalities, other areas that can do it. And if the administration gives us this big Bill 9, there's other things that we need to adjust to that big bill. So just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hanano, any final comments before we?
Chair.
Nothing further, Chair. Thank you.
Vice Chair Rollins-Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair. What I hear the department saying is that they support this initiative, that, you know, it's important. But where we're trying to stick it in may be a round peg into a square hole. And so like we need to figure out a better mechanism for achieving what it is that we're trying to do. That's what I heard the department saying.
Marcy?
Yes, that is correct, because we are very different than California. California doesn't assess properties. They tax on acquisition, which is very unfriendly for affordable housing. They don't have a homeowner class. So they do it on a day you buy, but there are pluses and minuses to that as well. So I think that, you know, if that is the desire, I think it needs to be handled and with another mechanism, because then I just think you're always chasing, because if the ultimate goal is to have someone to be able to pre-qualify, then you're outside of the realm of real property, because they don't even own the property yet, so.
Mahalo, Director, and I'm supportive of an idea that Member Johnson proposed of like having a fund, figuring out how that fund and the mechanism would work internally is for us to, try to work out with the administration. And I understand, the greatest benefit to our residents, our property taxpayers is, for on the day of closing that they would immediately start paying, that the tax classification that they actually are in on that day. And so I hear what Mr. Crowley is saying, and if we were to invest an incredible amount of money into staff and software, we could probably do that. But we as government need to balance how we make that work and what is the most feasible to charge everyone in order to fund the systems that we have in place and to make it as fair as possible. With the mention of Bill 9 and in preparation for some of those units being long-term or homeowner, I definitely support figuring out a mechanism for that as well. So I think we're all generally on the same page. I think we just have to, figure out the different systems that will achieve our shared goals. Mahalo, Chair.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's work to do. From the administration's point of view, they wanted us to make the changes within the framework they already have. We are saying, let's change the framework. Let's create something different and new. So that's the hard part, because we don't do that on a daily basis. Any more comments, questions?
And Chair, just, anytime we change frameworks, then there's bugs in it, and then we have to get the bugs out. So, because we have done some radical changes, such as, introducing the tiers that we work with the department on instituting, and there were bugs there, and as well as the real long-term rental classification and exemption. There were a lot of, room for improvement in that first couple of years, and I think we got it down like really well, and now we're improving it some more. So just like with any systems, it's ever evolving just as society is, and we just have to keep up with what we're doing. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. Anybody else? Last comments, Member Paulton.
Thank you. I just had a question, because my recollection was that we were for the Front Street apartment rebuild, questioning a fund that nobody knew how it was created. So my question was, can the administration just create a fund, or does that have to be a legislative act?
Is this for Marcy? Is this for Ms. Martin?
Probably for Corp Council.
Wait, Corp Counsel and then Vice Chair Rollins Fernandez.
Yes, you need legislation.
Corp Counsel, go ahead,
Okay.
answer.
Yes, there would have to be a change in the law or a new program.
Okay, and then, for, I guess, finance, those programs that were being referred to, like if there's a fund that we create, where have you seen them in the past? Is it human concerns or is it under housing? Or, because you said it wasn't in the real property tax world, or real property division world. Did you have a suggestion of where it should be? What
Yes.
world, what department?
Ms. Martin.
I feel that, the administration of it, it would be quite a lot of work, right? Because, we see right now what's happening with people applying for tax relief who are buying, or who are applying for relief who are buying property. You get a lot of applicants. So it probably would go within some of the housing programs that already exist, right? It would be a component to that.
Like a tack on to the first-time home buyers or something like that?
Yeah, I'd have to really dig in, to figure out, where that would belong. But I think, we're already doing some similar things. So, again, this would be, regardless, it's hard to do something at the time of sale because things happen very quickly. As, finance is learning as we're going through the program with CDBG, DR. We are really doing everything we can to accommodate those transactions timely. So, again, this is something really cutting edge.
Who administers the DHHL, 7-year thing? Is that you folks?
Go ahead.
The 7-year is they stay off the roll for the first 7 years. So we're delaying
and that
the
legislation is under your purview?
It's directed through the act, I think, from the state. So they remain non-taxable for the first 7 years of their lease.
So if we did something like non-Hawaiian homelands were non-taxable for the first 2 years, any affordable home is non-taxable for the first 18 months, provided that they've been a resident of the state of Hawaii for 2 years or whatever. Would that be administered through you folks?
Director.
Thank you. So we are currently working on a bill with the chair, Alice, to address that issue, and I think it will be forthcoming. So that's already in the works.
So then do you even need this one? Because that's what this is kind of trying to address. Or is that because this one doesn't address affordable homes, it's all homes?
Correct. So that bill that we're working on ties to chapter 2.96, and where this would apply to everyone.
And so the one that you're working on is based on income qualifications.
Well, let me explain. This bill has to do with affordable housing projects, all affordable housing projects. And we, the council, approve these projects well in advance. So years later, when they're finally built, the owners may occupy in January. So from January to December 30th or 31st, they have to pay the non-owner occupant classification, which is extremely high, and in some cases, disqualifies them from having the house. So this is the reason why I'm trying to target that group. This wasn't meant for the fire survivors necessarily. It could, I suppose, but that wasn't the original intent. Marcy?
Okay, I understand that. My follow-up question for Ms. Martin, do you have like statistics or data on how many of our residents purchase homes annually to live in as their primary dwelling?
Marcy?
We receive about 1,500 applications a year. So
Are those
the
new
requirement is they file 1 year resident income taxes prior to applying. So we know at least they've lived here, 1 or 2 years before applying. But I did want to mention that the department has said that they can go back to January 1 for the tax relief. So we would give the tax relief for the whole year, which would benefit the existing owner for whatever part that they owned, right? I just wanted to make that clear that we had talked about that.
Okay, and then the 1,500 applications that you're getting, those are brand new homeowner exemption applications that haven't ever been issued previously?
Director?
They could be new, or they could sell one home and move into another.
So basically about 1,500 of our residents per year approximately are purchasing new homes to live in.
Director?
Correct.
Director, I've heard you say 750 before. Can you clarify?
That was for the half year.
That's the half year.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
So the
I see.
1,500 is half. But, for our next meeting, I think we should make a chart and share it with everybody so we can
Yeah,
see.
yeah, good idea. Okay, any more questions, Member Paulton?
One more for Ms. Martin. So if those homeowner exemptions, the 1,500 homeowner exemptions, couple more, sorry, how many get approved? Like, does everyone that apply pretty much meet the requirements and get approved?
Thank you. So initially, we do approve majority of the applications. We then do compliance on all the applications to see if they've met the criteria. And at that point, we do catch probably about, so of the 1,500, about 5 to 10% every year. We do have to then, they didn't submit their income tax returns, they didn't file as a Hawaii. So they sign that they do it, we give it to them, and then upon compliance, we would remove the exemption and go back on them if they didn't meet the requirements.
So I just had a quick question of a different direction for the bill that could satisfy everyone. the issue with it right now is up to 18 months, people may be paying non-owner occupied, may be paying short-term rental. If, how about the first time they apply for a homeowner exemption and they get approved for the homeowner exemption, they get their first 18 months deferred, like DHHL or minimum tax or something like that. Then they're not waiting 18 months. Like, kind of like how when DHHL moves into their property, they're not taxed for the first 7 years. If a local resident buys a property that they're gonna move into, and then we defer it for the first 18 months.
Director?
Similar.
So for the Department of Hawaiian Homeland, DHHL properties, they start as non-taxable because they're owned by the state, so the taxes start at zero. So when they move in, there's no taxes, and then it remains non-taxable for the seven years. So that's the difference, that this is going in the opposite direction, right? The taxes are high to begin with, and then we want to reduce it. So
Or
we
defer it.
can, so you mean like a deferral, like put a lien on the property for the deferral?
Well, like, the first 7 years are deferred even after there's a home on it and somebody moves in. So I was speaking of deferral in those terms, like deferring the property taxes when a homeowner moves into a home that they've purchased. But it wouldn't be possible, like, say you get 1,500 homeowner exemptions per year, and you look through them and you approve them, and as you approve them, you defer the taxes for 18 months.
Okay, could
that a
you,
possibility?
we need to wrap this up because one of the members has to leave. So could you give us a quick question, Director? Quick answer.
We will think about that. And I understand what you mean. So I think that's something we had talked about in the past, and I think we can present a scenario for you all to look at,
Okay,
and we would be willing to do that.
okay.
But it kind of seemed like the affordable housing projects, before anyone moves into it, they're paying non-owner occupied on the land, right?
Director?
That's correct. Non-owner occupied prior to moving in.
Okay, we're going to have to shorten this. We will, if there are no objections, defer this item and work on it. Okay.
No objections.
Thank you, everyone, for your participation. This meeting is adjourned.